Welcome to Soul Sync.
Oh yeah, we are back. We are ready, baby, for
Welcome
another
back.
episode of the Soul
Oh, hell yeah.
Circle.
Ooh, say it loud and proud, girl. Use that voice.
For the people in the back.
People in the back. I hope you motherfucking hear us.
Because we have something good to say today. This episode is inspired because, as you guys know, within this podcast, Taylor and I are finally sharing our voice. And we want to teach you one on how to overcome maybe losing your voice or not even realizing that you lost your voice, but two, how to be confident with using your voice and how to use it in practical situations.
And I think that's one of the most important lessons we've both learned in our
Mhm.
lives. So why don't we talk about what is our voice, first of all? What even is that?
For me, it's all about self-expression, and like your personal evolution and standing by your own opinions, your own beliefs, and just straight up being confident in the words that come out of your mouth. But I think another part of finding your voice is also finding those topics you actually want to speak on, like topics that are meaningful to you and actually like you feel something when you speak about them rather than just shooting the shit and like talking shit because gossiping, that's high school, sweetie. Like we're over that. So
Mhm.
it's knowing like how to use your voice as well. What do you think?
That is so true, and it's like, you really do, like, feel a difference when you're
Mhm.
talking about something so, like, mundane or just talking to someone to make small talk, and, like, you feel a difference in having those conversations versus when you're, like, speaking your truth, when you're talking about, like, a passion of yours or something that you feel so strongly about, that can be so, like, muted or, like, dulled down throughout life, and you're just kind of expected to, like, mold into society, mold into, like,
Mhm.
conversations and, like, what other people want, so sometimes you'll just say things just to be in the conversation or just to get along with people and stuff like that, but it's like, if you have an opinion, even if it's the opposite of what everyone else is saying or what everyone else is thinking, and you feel it's strong enough, like, you have to say it, you have to honor yourself in that way, and when we don't, I feel like we kind of lose that, like, respect for ourselves almost? At
Mhm.
least for me, I know when I keep my mouth shut about something, always in the long run, something happens with it where I'm like, "If I would've just, like, said what I felt, all this would have been avoided." The point of us having a podcast too is just makes so much sense with that because our voice is here for that purpose too. Like, we're speaking up and we're saying the things that we believe in. You can never lose if you speak from the heart, ever.
Mhm.
The worst you could do is touch someone and change their life.
That was beautiful. Like, that was straight up beautiful. Your words are so magic. And I think that, like, that was the prime example of how powerful your voice can be? And I really touched on the spot where you were talking about how, like, it can be muted and it can be dulled down. And I know for me, like, I lost my voice at such a young age. And now I'm 25. And it was like this past year in terms of, like, having my own business and making all these like crazy life changes. Like I finally learned what having a voice truly meant to me, but it made me feel so sad, like you said, to have that just like dulled. And for so long, I just felt like if I shared my thoughts, if I shared my opinions, if I used my voice, people wouldn't want me in their life. So I was just quiet and I became such a people pleaser. And then it was me who was always hurting. Like I was always in so much pain and no one else would know. Like they would
Mhm.
have no idea. And like you said, it's like you're the one that ends up feeling that residual pain because you did not just speak and share your truth in the first place.
Totally. I feel like in a spiritual sense, like, words are vibrations, and there's so much you can do with it. You can hurt
Mhm.
someone so much with it, and you can heal someone so much with it. Nowadays and everything, they don't teach you that. They don't teach you that in
Mhm.
school. It's almost like they don't want you to know that, how powerful your voice is. So it's like when you finally learn how to use it, you make waves in the world,
Mhm.
and it's crazy being, muted and everything that has happened with you, like, I feel the same way in a sense of not so much in my childhood, but one relationship that I had in the past, it was very controlling, and I know when people have, like, controlling situations they're in, it's like they're just told to, like, shut up and be
Mhm.
quiet, and, like, they do everything, and it's like, you kind of just get used to it at some point, as terrible as that sounds, and then your identity just becomes whatever they say it is.
Mhm.
So, that's exactly what happened to me, and that was like a 6-year relationship that I totally lost myself in. Had, like, no idea, what I even liked anymore, what I didn't like. I was just, like, existing. But it's like once you're out of that and you really start to, like you said, like your personal evolution and your self-expression, like once you learn the things you like and the things you are actually passionate about, the way you talk changes.
Yeah.
It's said with so much passion and so much emphasis and so much like heart. So honestly, I hope everyone at some point finds their voice
Mhm.
and hopefully we can help you do that.
We
Hope you find
absolutely
it.
will. I mean, I already know we will, because so I was there with Taylor and I met her when she was in that relationship. I mean, shit, like we grabbed her bags and we dipped, okay?
Oh
Like we have been through a lot together and I saw that entire journey of you finding your voice and it was so funny because I was in the same like situation where I was just beating at the beat of everyone else's drums, whether it was my parents, whether it was my friends, or same, I was also in a very toxic relationship at the time. And like you said, you do just get used to it. Like I was just so used to being put down and so used to like just never having a chance to have my own opinion, like never having a chance for that to matter because I was always being told on what to do or what to say or what to care about or what job to want. Like I was always having an opinion inserted for me that now that's like my pet peeve. Like if somebody tries to
Mhm.
give me an opinion, I'm like, please wait until I ask for it. Unless you ask for it, I don't even want to hear it, because it was something that was like pressed on me so much over the years. So I know that we are going to help people because you help me, and like you probably don't even know that, but like watching you go through everything that you went through and like find your voice for that. But even after that, because like you said, you had no idea what you liked. I remember when you first moved to Point Pleasant and you had to like go figure out how to do things for your car alone, and you had to go get a brand new job and meet all new people, and even in Costa Rica when you went and, like, you knew nobody, you knew nothing, and you just went and, like, getting to see you in that experience, like, from where you were when we first met to, like, how I saw you, like, this year, it has just been beautiful, like, from an outsider's point of view. So that's how I know that we are
Wonderful.
absolutely going to change people's lives because, like I said, you have changed mine. And I feel like this would be a really good picking point to talk about, like, why are some of the reasons do you feel like we lose our voice? Because I know one of the things that you said is because one, like, the opinions are kind of just like coming in for you. But what do you feel like are some of the other reasons of like why you lost your voice in that scenario?
First of all, I wanna say I love you so much for saying that. Oh my god, that touched me. Oh, I sometimes you don't even realize, you know what I mean? Like, I was so just, like, losing my mind with so many things that, like, I love that. I love that I, could
Girl,
even
you
have
know
you in
that.
that
I be
way.
telling you, you be changing my life every birthday card.
Oh, I literally love you. So why you might lose your voice.
Mhm,
Um, well, yeah, like, never having the chance to have your own opinion, like we said, and having the fear that your opinion is wrong, I think is huge because if you're in the wrong group to begin with, and I know this happened to me, you feel like nothing you say or want to say at least is what anyone else wants to hear or like
mhm.
something that's just not, in the flow of the audience. It's kind of like a
Mhm,
read the room type thing. And when you're constantly just associating with the wrong people, it's so
mhm.
easy to feel like you don't have a voice, and it makes it a lot harder to have one, like, to
Yeah.
even find it. Because it's like, if no one cares about what I'm saying, like, what am I gonna want to say? Like, I don't know what to say then. So I
Mhm.
was I was, like, a pretty quiet kid, I feel like, in school and everything like that. I didn't really know my identity, and I didn't really, like, have one as much. I was just, like, bit bopping around, like, my group of
Yeah.
friends, and I was like, "Hey, this is cool. I don't have to think for myself. I don't have to do anything." It was just 'cause it was easy, but growing up and getting older, it's like okay, this is your life, you
Yeah.
know? You shed the layers and you shed people throughout life when you get older, and it's kind of like you attract exactly what you're putting out, and exactly, so that's why I attracted you, thank God, into my life. Our vibes were so similar, and because we both had our voice a little
Mhm.
more, we could be like, "That's what I like. That girl right there. I like what she's about because that's what I wanna be about." And then you kinda
Mhm.
mold yourself in that way too, like, from other people, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
completely understand because I definitely felt like the exact same way. You know, I was a girl that like it's so funny because so many people will be like, Sammy, I don't know how you were so upset. Like, I thought you were beautiful before you lost your 60 pounds. Like, how could you feel that way about yourself? And it's like, because I just didn't have that stability, you know? And like you said, I didn't have that identity within myself. And I know for me, I was the girl that one, I was very quiet. But 2, I was seeking for validation in everyone else, right? I was just never happy with myself, and I felt like no one else was ever happy. So I would, like, try to be friends with everyone, so I never had, like, a solid group, you know? I always was like, "Oh, well, I'm friends with them, I'm friends with them. Oh, I'll talk to them sometimes. Oh, like, I'll go to them." And I can totally relate to, like, the shedding of, like, the layers and the shedding of the people, and I feel like I did that so much throughout, like, middle, high school, and the beginning of college that at this point in my life, I seriously only surround myself with people that are as high vibe as, like, you know, as my best friend Maddie, who's here visiting. Like, I just that's who I feel so comfortable talking, and I think a lot of it has to do with our just worth in our voice, you know, because we can talk about these deep things. We don't have to talk about the surface level. How is the weather? What did she say about she said? You know, like we're not worried about that shit. Like we're going to talk about just meaningful things. And I think that like when you have a voice, like you said, you're just on a different frequency because you're just always being authentically you. And that's how powerful it could be. Like that's you. And I swear, it's just so crazy to me because now that I finally have it and I'm learning every single day to embrace it more and more, I'm like, Sammy, why did you never do this, girl? Like, how did
Mhm.
you never have this? But I think what you said of like the people you surround yourself with make a major difference, you know, because just the other day, one thing that like really was a huge turning point in my own journey when it came to my voice is when my partner Tom said to me, he was like, Sammy, your opinions are safe with me. Like, no matter what you have to say, good or bad, I was having a really difficult time like communicating and I was feeling a lot of emotions. And he had said that to me. And I swear it was like a weight lifted off my shoulders of like, oh my God, like I'm not going to be judged. I'm not going to be mad at. Like, he's going to love me no matter what. And that was just something that like I never felt before, especially when sharing my voice, you know? So I think that like, we also using our voice need to tell others that their thoughts, opinions, and feelings are safe with us too, if that's the case, of course, you know? But I think it's like using our voice for others as well is just as important because that, oof, did that just like change the game for me in so many ways.
Yeah. Holy shit, I love that he said that.
I
Wait, that's
know,
amazing.
such a
I
dude.
it's so isn't it just, like, such a comfy feeling and you're like, "Ooh."
I
Like, you know?
was. At first, I honestly didn't even believe that he had said the words. Like, at first, I was like, "Did you just say it? Like, really?" You know? And it's because of that, like, stigma of, like, you can't talk, you have to keep your feelings to yourself, you know? Like, I feel like nowadays there's just so many things you shouldn't talk about that you just don't wanna talk at all, you know?
Oh my
So to
god,
be told that,
totally.
like, no matter what your opinion is, like, it's gonna be safe with me and, like, also, the fact of like it's okay to disagree, I think is another huge thing that I've been learning when it comes to like finding and using my voice because one of the reasons I was always like so quiet because I was always so scared I was going to be wrong, right? Uh-huh. So it was like my
Same.
ego would come up and be like, "Well, don't say anything at all because if you don't say anything, at least you're half right." Which is like the silliest thing ever.
Oh, shit.
But that's, like, another thing that Tom was saying to me during this conversation is he was like, "Sammy, there is no right and wrong, like, just tell me how you're feeling, that's safe," and like I said, it was just very epic, you know? I don't think that we say those things quite often enough, and I also think that we don't know to say those things. I would have never thought to say that to somebody else, but now I'm in the era where, like, shit, I wanna say that to all my clients, all my friends, like, I want that to be a part of my everyday vocabulary because it was just
Oh,
so
yeah.
powerful.
Hell yeah. I was on such a similar vibe, like, this whole year is where I found because one person said to me, like, "Your feelings are so valid." And when that hit me, I was like, "That's really all anyone had to say to me for me to be like, oh, okay, you're right." So
Mhm,
I've been saying that to, like, as many people, like, anyone that, consoles in me, that's, like, the first thing out of my mouth is, "Okay, well, first of all, your feelings are valid and heard, and, like, this is a safe space," and then continue. And I just thought it was funny because I was saying that to my friend. We were in line for, like, drinks at
mhm,
Coachella, and, like, Coachella's, like there's, like, 10, 100,000 people there, and there
mhm.
was one guy, like, right in front of us, and once I said the words, "Your feelings are valid," he, like, shot around and looked at me and was like, "Yo, that I like that you said that." Like, he, like, made such a thing about it, and, like, I kind of feel like he was never told that either, maybe?
Mm,
So it was something that he just overheard, and it kinda, like, hit him in the same way that, everyone kind of feels. And
mhm,
especially someone that, their voices were kind of dimmed also.
mm,
Like, once you hear it, it's kind of just really validating to be like, "No, you do have a voice. Don't forget.
mhm,
Do not
mhm,
forget, and use it." So I just love that was, like, the biggest green flag ever of Tom, that you just so I love
mhm.
that. Healthy relationships only in 2024 and forever.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And like make sure
Oh,
that the people you're surrounding yourself with like always help you grow too, because like at
mhm,
the end of the day, like I feel like Tom saying that it was such a great indication of like him growing and me growing too. And like I feel like we should always be wanting that for each other. So always validating your voice. Fuck it. That's the way that you do it. Like,
mhm,
at the end of the day, life is difficult. Like, we have things that we are going to go through. There's going to be conversations you don't want to have or topics
mhm,
you don't want to talk about, but ignoring them is not the solution. Talking about it and facing it is. So I feel like just making sure that one, you're practicing using your voice in like the ways that we're talking about, even if it is, like you said, just like saying, hey, you're valid, like just having that intention behind the words that you use. But two, also making sure that the people that you're talking to, like, make you feel that way as well, because why are you surrounding yourself with people who don't? Like, that should be your number one question. If you're listening to this podcast and you're like, oh my God, like, shit, Tom sounds like a man. Like, I want something like that. Like, he has just been the epitome of, like, if he wanted to, he would, straight up,
mhm.
you know? So it's just
Totally.
like, it is out there, and like, having an opinion, standing up for what you believe in, that's out there too. You just have to believe it and, like, own it.
Oh, that's so true. And
Mhm,
also in another sense, like, communication being so important, like, so important for the relationships you have in your life. So, like, look around, see who has your back, see who you support fully, see your inner circle, and just look around and be like, "Do I feel safe here?"
mhm,
"Is this serving me? Is this helping me to grow? Is this calling me out on my bullshit?" Like,
mm,
there are so many different things we have to be paying attention to in those, like, very close relationships that we have, and to be able to communicate you not feeling safe or not feeling heard or something like that, especially with a romantic relationship, like, you usually spend most of the time with that person, especially if you live together,
mhm,
and they say you kind of turn into a product of the 5 people that
mm,
you surround yourself with the most, and I love that quote because it's so true, and every era of my life, I do, like, a little scan where I'll just, like, sit down and be like, "Okay, the 5 closest people to me, what are they bringing to me? What am I bringing to them? And also, like, how can I communicate if I need something more from them or if I wanna be heard in a different way and, like, what's not working for me and what is and stuff like that. And that's where also, like, positive reinforcement comes in,
Mhm.
which, dude, I got, like Sammy, we do, like, voice messages back and forth from each other, and we always slip in, like, so much positive reinforcement to each other, like, even if it's, like, a grocery list of things to do for each other or just whatever, it'll always start with something so positive and be like, "First of all, girl, we're killing it," and, or if it's, like, a picture or something, like, "First of all, you look bad as fuck."
Period.
Like, period. But just, like, communication can seriously change everything,
Mhm.
everything with any relationship you have. So I think little flow into the next, like, tips on how to find your voice.
Mhm.
So, Miss Sammy, how do you think we should start finding our voice?
Well, I feel like a great way to do that is piggybacking off the positive reinforcement, right? So I know for me, I started finding my voice with positive self talk. So I started to find my voice actually within my own head and within myself because not only had I felt like I didn't have a voice, but I didn't feel like I was worthy of one. Like I didn't feel like my feelings were valid. So when it did come to the things that I was saying or I was feeling, I was always like, "My God, like, am I overthinking this?" And I would like trick myself out of not sharing my opinion because I would like devalue what I was feeling. So having positive self-talk, listening to affirmations, starting journaling, like little rituals like that was a really, really key piece to me finding my voice because I had to believe that I was worthy of that first. So, what I would say is start practicing that. Like, look in the mirror, and you can even Google or YouTube like positive affirmations, self love affirmations, and just tell yourself, I am worthy, I am whole, I am complete. Like, I have a voice. Just whatever it is that you are looking to feel or be or look like or achieve or manifest into your life, start speaking it. Like, start practicing it and do that with yourself, right? Because I noticed for me, when I didn't feel comfortable with myself, I felt comfortable with no one, especially when it came to my voice. So I really had to heal that inner relationship within myself. And one way that I did this was with journaling and audio messages. So for me, journaling was always much easier because I could just like kind of like brain dump, like all of the shit that I had to say. And then audio messages were key because when I was just feeling some type of way and I couldn't figure out how to find my words or I couldn't figure out whether or not what I was feeling was valid enough to say something, I would just speak into my phone and I would just get it all out and I would just like, blah, 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 you know? Then I would go back and listen to it and say, okay, I have some really key points here. Like, shit. Like, listening to it was kind of like that slap in the face of, Sammy, honey, these are really big points here. Like, you have a very valid opinion here. And it would kind of convince me to be like, oh, I do need to say something here. Like, this is a really good way for me to practice it. So I think number one would be really starting with yourself, right? And just starting to practice it with yourself before you practice it with anyone else, right? Because for me, that was a really big starting point, and I don't think I could have gone all the way in. And you know me, Taylor, like I'm not sure I could just go all the way in into a full confrontation. I think I really needed to do that inner work first and then work my way there.
I totally agree, and I feel like I'm the same way with that, but
Mhm.
that's also a really good spot to, like, get all your thoughts out first, even if they're, like, angry thoughts, so that you could just kinda, like, sift through them and be like, "Okay, like, which ones are actually gonna serve a purpose and are gonna be helpful in a situation like this and not, like, escalate things." So I think that's amazing to do, especially in a confrontation or something like that, because it gives you a minute to pause.
Mhm.
Um, but I feel the same way with the podcast too, and brain dump, like, just journaling. I feel like you taught me that. I think it was you that was like, "Just write all of your thoughts down, just
Yeah.
anything, even how no matter how crazy it sounds, like, whatever it is in your brain, just write it down." And me with, like, my ADD, I'm like, "Shit." Like, and the sky's blue, and I'm watching Adventure like, it was the stupidest shit at first, but then things come out that you don't even realize you're feeling, and it's
Mhm.
kind of like a conversation with yourself and
Mhm.
just straightening up the thoughts, getting them all in the line and being like, "Okay, so I mentioned this 3 times, you know, and this keeps coming up, and whenever I say this, I feel really heavy, and whenever I
Mhm.
say this, I'm triggered because of something," and it's really just, like, dissecting the voice in your head sometimes and figuring out, like, what it is that you're trying to tell yourself. It's kinda hand in hand with your dreams, like, your subconscious,
Mm.
it
Mhm.
tells you things. You really pay attention to it, it's like giving you a warning, or it's telling you, like, "Listen, you're not okay, even though you say you are, and whatever you're projecting into the world isn't necessarily what's happening inside." So it's like finding little hints and clues sometimes if you don't have your voice yet, or if you're still in the process of finding it, is just to really sit down and be honest with yourself, and to a lot of people, that can be really hard to do at first, and just looking in the mirror and being like, "Okay, how did I get here?
Mhm.
Where do I wanna be?" You know, and sitting with yourself is a great first step too, and I know you and I both had to do that at crazy lengths, and, like,
Mhm.
we did it all as far as healing goes, like, we really tried all the tips and tricks for it, and I feel like we would be able to give a lot of insight on just, like, all of our little things that we did. Your positive self-talk into the mirror helped me a lot too. Oh my goodness.
That
Like,
makes me so
to
happy.
oh my god, to pair that with writing little things, like, Sammy has little sticky notes places, they're so helpful. Like, it
Mhm.
can be whatever you wanna say and whatever you want to affirm within yourself, but even if it's just like, you know, how grateful you are, or like, remember
Mhm.
how grateful you are, or like, you're beautiful, and just whatever you wanna tell yourself. But it's so powerful because 'cause you're looking at yourself while you're saying it,
Mhm.
and it's you with you, and you're confronting any fears or any icky things that you just don't wanna hear, and you're confronting it, and you're being like, "No, you're wrong. I am the baddest." So, thank you for that, first of all, seriously. This is another thing, like, you wanna pick friends that help you in this way too. It's all about, like, how we can help each other, how we can grow together,
Mhm.
and how we can create a safe space for one another. So, I do wanna say thank you for all of your little tips and tricks because they
Oh
really helped me.
my gosh. Girl, that makes me so happy, you know? And I think for me, like, I've been doing these for so many years at this point that it's just like, it's a part of my everyday, and yeah, I'm always, like, telling my Lotus babes, like, "Come on, queens, like, look at your sticky notes, think about your goals," like, I'm always talking to them about it, but I really appreciate that, like, it just helps you, you know, because it's just very little things that you can add into your days and add into your lives that are gonna help you be that more confident version of yourself that helps you to find that voice, and it's like all of those little domino effects, you know, and sometimes we're just like, does it really matter if I do it this day? Or does it really matter if I put the intention? Or does it really matter if I look at my sticky note?" And the answer is yes. You know, any little thing that you do for yourself is going to help. And I feel like one thing that I also did to kind of like pair with some tips is music. I would listen to music because when I was first finding my voice, I can very much resonate with what you were saying of like, you had to do a hard look in the mirror and you had to do a hard look of like, how am I actually feeling? Because I was running away from how I was feeling for so long. So, music, I swear, like just sitting there listening, it could bring me to tears. It could make me so happy. There's this one song, it's called Rescue by Lauren something. No idea what her last name is. Not great with names, but it is called Rescue. And when I listen to this song, I swear this is the song that helped me find my voice because I would listen to this song and I would just imagine myself singing it to myself. Like that's who I feel like I'm talking to when I sing this song. Is it's like I'm rescuing her, like I'm rescuing that little girl in me that was buried down into such a small little ball for her to not piss off anyone and like just be little like perfect Sammy. And that song was just like, I'm already fucking perfect. Like, no matter what anybody else says, like, I'm perfect within myself and I have to stand by that, you know? So I truthfully feel like throughout my whole healing journey, I have to rescue myself. Like, that's my job within my mission, you know? And I feel like that's the most important part at the end of the day is finding those ways to use your voice because all of these tips and all of these tricks, like they truly do help, but we have to do it for that one bigger purpose of like that final moment where you finally get to use your voice and where the universe finally gives you that opportunity of like, okay, Taylor, are you ready? Like you've been practicing, you've been going for it. Do you have that confidence and self worth to stand up for yourself? And then you decide. And a lot of the times, because of the sticky notes, because of the inner work you've been doing, because of the music, you are going to do it because that's what's going to come into your head. And I loved how you pointed out the subconscious. And I feel like there's so many things that we can talk about in another episode that will definitely come. But
Totally.
these tips and tricks are rewiring your subconscious. So, in those moments where you're finally being tested on, oh my God, are you going to use your voice? That's when they're so beneficial. Because I know for me, like that song, when I'm in a bad mood, comes in my head. And I'm like, nope. I can't let this get to me. I'm rescuing younger Sammy. I would never want her to feel that way. I would never want her to go through these things. So I'm not going to let her, you know? And it's just been such a power for me. So just piggybacking off of that, it's like find what works for you. Some of these might work wonders and you might love music and be like, "Oh, Sammy, I could go find some songs that I could truly relate to and get yourself feeling the feels." But maybe you're an artist and maybe you need to sit there and just paint out all your feelings, right? Or maybe you're a gym girly like me. Uh-huh. Come on. I come to my page, okay? But maybe you like the gym and you need to go squat out that bullshit. And that's how you find your voice,
That
you
bullshit.
know? Like,
Hashtag
you
squat out that bullshit. I love that.
like, find what is going to work for you, and I know that in every case scenario, I've been able to, like, find my voice. Even with the squatting out my bullshit, I will look in the mirror, and I will think about a situation that pissed me the fuck off, and I'll be like, "Okay, this is what I'm saying to you." Boom. And come
Wait, I
up
feel
with,
like
like
you need that on a shirt or something, seriously. Like, did you make that up? That's pretty impressive. Squat out the bullshit.
Um, I don't know. I feel like with everything on social media nowadays, you can't take anything for making it up because somebody will come and be like, no, bitch, you took that from me." Okay.
I
So,
know. Things get blurred. Like, it's like, I
yeah.
know I heard that from somewhere, or maybe I made it up, I don't know.
But I know that it came out of my mouth when I was using my voice. So, does that count? And, Boomy over here is meowing. So, if you guys hear, I think he's agreeing with his mama Sammy.
He's using his voice.
Oh, I love that. See, we teach everyone, even animals too.
Even animals. No, you're so right. I love what you said about, like, self-expression, like, even for, like, artists and stuff like that, but
Mhm,
it really is, like, any form of self-expression is you using your voice and you finding it and, like, the exploration of you finding it, which
mm,
is really cool, and that makes me think about, like, growing up and just getting older throughout the years, like, how much we change and how much
mhm,
we evolve, and it's kind of exciting to think about where we're at now versus if we keep going, we keep up leveling, and we
mhm.
keep, like, doing the things that work for us, how we're gonna be in a couple years from now.
Oh my
And,
god.
like, our mindset. If you keep working at your mindset and you
Mhm,
manifest things for yourself and you manifest how you want to think and
mhm,
how you want the voice in your head to sound like, it's kind of amazing to think where you could be in life.
mhm,
So, that in itself is so powerful. They say, like, the voice in your head is the loudest thing you will hear ever. If you feed it positive thoughts and positive affirmations and you use your voice in positive ways and to heal rather than to hurt people, you don't realize how much good you're doing. Usually we realize it when it's the opposite, when it's bad. And it's like you find yourself in a deep, dark pit or like a
Mhm.
depression. And I know so many people right now are kind of in that state of mind. There's a lot of and I am super guilty of this too, but like dark humor type jokes in the world right now, and I love dark humor, like, don't get me wrong, but a lot of times when you're joking about something so, like, depressing or you just keep saying, like, "Oh my god, like, I wanna die," or, like, I hate this, I hate that," "The world sucks, people suck." The more you say that, maybe you don't realize, but your brain is really keeping track of all that. Your mind is really, like, looking for ways to confirm that to be true
Mhm.
constantly. Whatever you tell it, your subconscious is finding ways to prove that to be right. And at one point, you come to a dead end and you're like, okay, well, life just fucking sucks. Like, what's
Yes.
going on? And some people don't automatically think to look at themselves, they look at their whole situation around them and they'll look at, like, oh, well, my job is like this and I don't like these people. And it
Yeah.
started with the intention you put into the words you used. That also goes with taking a good hard look at yourself in the mirror. Certain things are really powerful, and we have to take accountability for them, and starting with our voice, period.
I fucking love that, and it was so hard to take you seriously when Boomy was over here trying to claw himself into the blinds, okay? Like, bloopers, be ready. But I think that was just such a powerful way to end this. Just all about how your voice is going to be the loudest one that you hear. So make sure that you're talking to yourself as if you were talking to someone you loved. I know for me, the number one tip that I can give y'all is talk to yourself as if you would talk to your partner, as if you would talk to your best friend. Whenever I'm beating myself, I'm like, oh my God, would I go say this to Taylor? And immediately my head's like, no, how dare you? I would never. Why is that not in our brains? Right. So I really want you to, after listening to this podcast, get a little real with yourself. What are some of these things that you've been saying that do make you, like Taylor said earlier, sad? They make you feel heavy. Like the thoughts that you're having, you can control. And I think that's the number one key of having your own voice is that you do finally get to find that control within your thoughts. Right. So if you are looking to keep learning how to use your voice, how to find your own power, and how to really stand in it, make sure you keep listening, okay? We are going to have our next episode for you next Thursday. But until then, Taylor, where can they find you?
At Taylor Bavel on Instagram. We also have our Soul Sync account
Mhm.
on Instagram. We have YouTube. We also have Spotify. Everything's gonna be in the show notes, people. You just click the little button down there. Boop. All of our info is gonna pop up. It's a
Mhm.
magical place to be. Always check it out whenever you have
Mhm.
time. And where can they find you, Sammy?
Find me at Sammy Roos underscore and come to me if you have any fit girl tips that you need. But for now, we're going to be peacing out. But last reminder, okay? We also have a Q&A. So if you want to go ahead and fill out any questions, anything that you would like Taylor and I to talk about, maybe even any struggles that you have, and we can go on Instagram and do a little Q&A replay so that we can make sure that we're serving you guys to the absolute fullest. Go ahead and fill that out because we're here to help. So until then, I hope y'all have the best motherfucking weekend of your lives, and we'll chat with you soon.
See you soon.
See ya! Mwah.